Good morning, my name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to make kind of an unusual thing. I'm thinking it will be a fairy door sculpted on this rock, and then a tree with roots hanging down on top of it. So that's the plan. We're going to get started right away. I want to seal this rock so that it is less porous, because it will receive the clay a lot better. And I'm sealing it with acrylic. And in the video description, which is down below the video, I'll put the name of it in there in the tool and supply list. And there'll also be sources and names of other things that you can use to seal the rock and just general supplies for this project. Now that will take a minute to dry, and what I want to do now is clean my brush in water, because if you don't clean the brush, it will get hard and become useless. So I have water off to the side there, and then what I'm going to do is start rolling the door frame while this dries. And you do want to knead your clay, which also conditions it, and I did that a good bit before turning on the camera. So I'm going to start rolling a noodle of clay for the door frame, and just kind of keep things moving while the stone is drying. You don't have to use acrylic to seal it. You can use polyurethane or varnish even, but acrylic is best if you can get it. And again, I'll put the name of that product in the video description. So we just roll this out here. It's best to roll it on the table like I'm doing, because it's a lot more likely to be uniform if we do it that way. I'm not going to need that much, so I'm going to break some off here. It's a lot more manageable to roll it if it's not a very long noodle. And I think that's about the thickness I want. So the next thing is, this stone is it's almost dry. It dries very quickly. It is very wobbly, and the flat surface for where the door is going to go needs to be more standing up like this. So to help with that, I'm going to take a piece of clay like this, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of the stone, kind of in the back, right there. Press it into place, and then I'm going to take just a piece of paper here and just press down. Now the paper will keep it from sticking to the table. So it looks like that. And now it's standing up fairly straight, you can see. You can also just blend it in a little bit to the stone. Blending means to pull the clay to either meet other clay from one part to another, or to the stone itself. I'm just making that a little bit more uniform. You can take a a knife and just trim it off. Just clean it up and make it nice and neat. And now it stands up straight and it doesn't wobble so much. I'm going to roll this a little bit more. I think what I want is to have a peak. And just position it on the door frame any way you like. And then what I'll do is I'll take a tool and cut it off at the bottom. Kind of like that. If you're gentle with it, you can slide it a little bit and adjust the positioning of it. But I wanted it to be fairly thick because the roots are going to be coming down around it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of clay and I'm going to make the door for it. So I'm actually going to kind of shape the clay into, actually I should probably have a little bit more clay. I'm going to shape the clay into the shape of the door a little bit to make it easier. So, kind of like that. And then squeeze it. And then just put it in there. And then you can use your thumb to press it a little bit more flat. You can draw it down like this, kind of smooth it out, and get it tight to the door frame. You can also use a sculpting tool to kind of sculpt it into the door frame. And it's actually, I think, more desirable to have it kind of rough. So I'm actually putting in some texturing to kind of make the door a little bit more rough. So that's what it looks like right now. And then the next, let me just straighten this up a little bit here. There we go. And then what I'm going to do, I'm sorry, I have a frog in my throat if you haven't noticed. And okay, so what I'm picturing is like planking for the door, but I don't want it to be straight planking. I want this door to look pretty old. So I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna kind of curve it like that. So it's kind of like they got the tree to make the door planking and they just cut it in strips almost. That's what I've kind of got in mind. Just wipe it off of my hand. And then I'm gonna kind of cut it in on the sides a little bit. Now also, I want the door frame to be rough too, so I'm just gonna smooth this out a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is take my my tool and just put in texturing on the door frame. And there's a there is a seam right here, so I'm going to put the seam in. And then texture the other side. And that's going to be a nice old looking door. I think I'd like to put some cross members on the door itself as supports. So I'm going to roll a noodle of clay for that. Let me move this out of the way so you can see it okay. So I'm going to have one right here. So I'm going to cut it or snip it off with my fingernail. Let's see here, I need to make it a little bit shorter. There we go. I'm just putting that in. It's creation in progress. That's what I always say when I'm, actually creating as I go. Which is oftentimes the case in my videos because there's There's no sense in making it beforehand. You might as well make the video while you make it, while you create it. So that's one, and then I've got this other one here. I don't know if it's long enough. I better make it a little bit longer. And put it right across here. Using a sharper knife to snip it off. Now again, the texturing. And I've never done one quite like this before, that's for sure. Not with a tree and roots hanging down and all that. I haven't really done that before. So I get that going there. Now I want to make a ring for the door, because I just think it looks a lot better. Let me see if I can grab a small paintbrush here. Here's a small paintbrush. So this is the paintbrush and this is the other end. And what I'm going to do is roll a noodle of clay, trying to form a ring. I'm going to wrap it around the paintbrush, using it as a form. See? Like that. Pinch off the end. I've done this a few times. You've probably seen me do it. Some of you anyways. I'll just slide it off the end of the brush. I want to get it positioned so it's in the center. Then what I'll do is I'll take a little small bit of clay and roll it into a small noodle. Put it into the center of the ring. A little strap for it to hold the door ring. And just put this tool in here to kind of press it into place. So there we go. Now one last thing for the door frame is a threshold. So a noodle of clay like this. Square it up on the ends so it looks like that. And put it on the base of the door. can blend it in on the bottom so it'll be more sturdy. And there we go. We're on our way. So we got the door and on the stone, and now we're going to start the tree. And I have a picture in my mind of what I want the tree to look like, but it's still going to be creation as we go. Make it a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna set this out of the way for a minute. Oh, I forgot the texture on the door, on the threshold. So let me just do that real quick. So it really looks like an old door. Okay, so now just set this back out of the way here, and we're gonna roll a ball to start off with. This sculpting technique that I'm showing you is called simple shapes, and it's assembling simple shapes to form figures and structures, and that's basically the idea behind it. Okay, and oftentimes starting off is rolling the ball beforehand to start off with kind of a jumping off point. Now I'm going to take a pair of scissors, which is a really easy way to make the roots of a tree. So I make two snips. Now I'm going to just take a sculpting tool and smooth it out a little bit in here. And then I'm going to take, just to make it, really strong on the stone, I'm going to take a little bit of Sculpey Bacon Bond and put it on the roots. And I think I want it to go like this. I'm going to get a piece of paper here. I guess I use this. Sometimes when I'm sculpting the trees I do will lean backwards. So I turn it to the side so I can see that it's not doing that. Now let's see. Okay, so now I want to start bringing the roots down. And I'm not sure, again, don't know exactly how this is going to come together from this point forward. Rolling roots. rolling noodles of clay and working with them. I do want the stone to be visible, so I think I'm going to the root off there. And just adding roots as I go here. I think I'd like the root to be thicker coming out the top, so it's kind of enveloping the tree. I mean the door. It's kind of coming outwards here. You see where I'm going with that. Just blending it into the bottom of the door frame to kind of hold it there. You can take a sculpting tool and blend this in, and don't worry about roughness because this is a tree and it's rough. See what we can do with it here. Just take your time. I think I'm going to have a root come out here this way a little bit. Root come out that way a little bit. And then one also here. You can add little bits of clay to build it up, and it's a good skill to have. Now we'll put it back on the paper here and start working on the sides and back a little bit. Just taking my time and going around and putting in roots. I call it a root map, and it just takes a little bit of patience and use this piece here. You can use tools or your hands to blend and put it together. And you know, but it's best if you can use your hands as much as possible, because you need to get them used to working the clay. Get them comfortable with that. Now I'm going to bring the tree top area over a little bit like this, and then bend it back, kind of give it that old bonsai look. And you definitely want, see this area that I'm doing here? These little seams. Now you can add little balls of clay, so something a little bit bigger here, and put them like where the trunk of the tree comes down to meet the roots, and it's called the shoulder, and it just adds to that kind of gnarled look of this old tree. It's kind of so it kind of brings it down and brings it out and brings it down again, so just like kind of like a shoulder, and it just adds to the that gnarled look of the tree. And you can also add shoulders further down, like if you wanted one here on this root here, you just put it almost like a knuckle. And that can add to that gnarled look as well. Make it look really old. And then when we finish up the roots, the root mapping, we'll come back and we'll add texture to the tree. I'm going to try to get some more roots going here. Some little offshoots and that sort of thing. And you can also curve the roots where they come out. Like this one here could be curved out like that. This one curved out a little bit. It just makes it look more natural. And then when you go to add the texture, you can really dig in, because this is an old tree, so we want to dig in a bit. So like this. And you can also use the back end or side of the tool to add to that texture. And go over the ones that you just did. You can go over them and actually add some dimension to the bark of the tree. And also, just to strengthen the roots, you can pick it up like this and see these gaps in here. See those gaps? Fill those gaps in. You can use your tool to carve them in. Carve them into the stone too, and blend them into the stone so they become very strong. But feel free to dig in. It's not going to hurt it. It's going to actually look a lot better. And then consider using another tool to go over it so you have more than one texture on top of another. Now we're going to start the treetop, and what I'll do is I'm going to just make a few branches to support the moss that's going to go on top, and so I roll a kind of a cone shape like this, and then put it on. And I'm going to use wire, but I'm going to show you how I do that. Blend it in. So basically we'll push this out of the way, and then so cone shape like that. Flatten it where it's going to join the tree, and put it on, and then blend it in. Roll a ball, then a cone, flatten it where it's going to join the tree, and put it on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is 18 gauge galvanized steel wire, and I'm going to put it at an angle downwards at the end of the branch here, and press it down into the tree. And do that all the way around, and that will strengthen the branches. Now another thing you can do is take wire and make little feet for to hold the moss. So just cut little pieces. Take a pair of pliers and bend them like that. And then take that and hook it into the tree so it won't go down through. And I'll do another one to show you. Just cut a piece of wire, take your pliers, bend it so that it's at a right angle, and then hook it into the tree, and just heel it up around the wire, and that will hold the moss on there. You have your wire pieces in, you can cut them to be about a 1/2 inch or so long. Just watch out for the flying wire, because that wire can get on the floor and hurt your feet. and then we'll go ahead and continue the texturing. Okay, so once you've got all your texture in and you got the tree the way you want it, we're going to go ahead and put a finish on it. Now I'm going to be using Pearl X Pigments, and the color for the tree and the door are going to be antique bronze. I think actually I might use silver too, so we'll see how that goes. And when I'm putting it on broad surfaces that I can reach with my finger, I use my finger. I dip it into the bronze, swirl it with my thumb, and then just highlight it. And just, I'm just basically looking for subdued look. I want to see lots of black. If you want it brighter than that, you can put it on with a brush. And I'm going to show you how I do it with a brush too, so you can see. I just take my time, go around, and highlight it. When you go to bake it, there are baking instructions in the video description down below the video. So that's kind of how you do that. And then when you're putting it on with a brush, what you do is you dip your brush in water and then get all the excess off of it as much as you can. And then this is if you have parts that you couldn't get to with your finger. You use the brush, and if it's damp, it works better. So then I just brush it on. And I just do it to highlight it, so I'm going over it really lightly. Now I'm going to use a smaller brush, and I'm going to do the door ring. So this is silver. I'll get my brush a little wet, take off the excess with, and then dip it in the powder, and then dab off the excess silver on the table, or a paintbrush, or excuse me, a paper towel, and then I'll put it on the door ring. Again, I'm looking for a subdued look. And put that cover back on there. Okay, now I'm using, this is actually Reindeer Moss. It's actually a lichen, not a moss, but it looks like moss, and it's really good for treetops. And you can use a brush and like Elmer's glue Elmer's wood glue works really good, and you can glue it together, and it actually works out fine. The way this goes, you can just just put it on there like this, set it on there, and set it on the pins. And you can also, of course, glue it to the treetop as well. And then once you get it set up there the way you want, let's see, put a little piece in here. So you can glue it in place if you like. And then you can also trim it, of course, with a pair of scissors. There we go. And that is how you make a tree on a stone with a fairy door. And the roots coming down, enveloping it. I think it's pretty cool. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I do many videos along these lines. Please also give me a thumbs up on the video and share it with your friends. That really does help a lot, so I'd appreciate if you do that. And leave me a comment if you have an idea for a video you'd like to see. Please tell me about it. And thank you so much for watching. Have fun, be creative, and have a great day.